My beloveds, come close now. Draw near, not just in body but in spirit. Pull your chair close and sit beside me at the table of truth. Lay down your burdens. Bring your questions, your quiet heartbreaks, your unspoken prayers, and let us drink slowly together from the cup of wisdom. This is not a conversation for haste. No, this is sacred ground, the kind of moment where heaven leans in and listens, and the soul learns what only time, trials, and tenderness can teach. You see, if you live long enough, if you walk through the valleys and mountaintops of this life, with open eyes and a willing heart, life will begin to show you something sacred, something deep, something mysterious. It will whisper to you not in the noise of the crowd, but in the silence after lost. It will teach you, slowly and sometimes painfully, that the nature of God is not just to give. No, beloved, in His sovereign wisdom and unfailing love, God also takes away, and I tell you with trembling reverence, that too that especially is a gift. We often celebrate the blessings, don't we? We shout when He opens doors. We praise when He multiplies. We dance when He gives us what we asked for, but, oh child, rarely do we pause to bless His holy name when He removes, when He subtracts, when He closes a door we wanted to keep open. But make no mistake, there is mercy in the taking. There is grace in the goodbye. Not every person who enters your life was sent by God. I know that's hard to hear. I know we want to believe the best, hope for the purest intentions, trust the smiling faces. But some people come dressed in charm, cloaked in beauty, wrapped in charisma but hollow where it matters. They dazzle, yes, they excite. They even feel like answers to prayer. But charm, when not anchored in character, becomes deception. And hear me clearly. God does not desire deception for His children. He does not want you entangled with counterfeits, no matter how convincing they look. What He desires is truth, not convenience masquerading as love, not manipulation disguised as loyalty. He wants peace for you, beloved, peace like a river that nourishes your roots. Peace like still waters that quiet your soul. Peace that passes understanding and guards your heart from hidden harm. And that kind of peace only comes when the truth reigns, when clarity is honored, and when what was never meant to stay is finally let go. So come closer still. Let the noise fall away. Let the fear uncoil. Let us speak plainly, soul to soul. Let us begin this journey not with denial or defensiveness but with holy curiosity. What if the taking wasn't punishment, but protection? What if the removal was mercy in motion? Let's learn together what it truly means when God begins to take, not to destroy but to deliver, not to hurt but to heal. You are safe at this table. You are seen, and what's coming next is freedom. We rejoice when God gives, don't we? We dance in the sanctuary. We raise our hands high when blessings fall like rain. We testify. We shout from the rooftops, look at what the Lord has done. We sing with hearts wide open when the windows of heaven pour out favor. And rightly so, He is worthy of our praise. But let me ask you gently now, can you worship with the same fire when God takes away? Hush your heart for a moment. Lean into this question. Not out of guilt or fear but out of reverence. Can your faith stand not just in the abundance, but in the absence? Can your soul still say amen when the doors close, when the phone stops ringing, when the one you loved walks away? You see, the act of divine subtraction is never random. In the hands of God, loss is never without purpose. To our natural eyes, it may look like rejection, abandonment, devastation. But in the spirit, oh beloved, it is often preservation cloaked in divine mystery. What you thought was a painful ending may very well be the first act of your deliverance. That goodbye you didn't see coming. That friendship that fell apart. That relationship that cracked and crumbled. It hurt, I know. You wept, you questioned. You may have even doubted your worth. Why, Lord, you cried. Why would you take this from me? I loved them. I trusted them. I needed them. But hear me, God sees what we don't. While you were looking at the surface, He was examining the roots. While you were clinging to a version of love, He was guarding your destiny. Where you saw loyalty, He saw manipulation. Where you felt connection, He discerned corrosion. Where you believed in forever, He saw something that was silently working against your soul. God is not cruel. He is not careless. He is not playing games with your heart. He is not trying to break you down just to see if you'll survive.
No.
Child, He is clear, and clarity is a kind to seven when it comes with tears. He removes what poisons your spirit, even when you've grown comfortable sipping it. even when it came wrapped in laughter, even when it felt familiar. He removes, not because he wants you to suffer, but because he wants you to live, and not just breathe, but thrive, flourish, grow into the fullness of who he created you to be. Sometimes the thing we call comfort is quietly killing our purpose. Sometimes what feels like a gift is actually a trap dressed in beauty. And sometimes, the greatest mercy God can give you is not in what he provides but in what he removes. So when God takes away, don't only mourn the absence, begin to seek the meaning. Begin to trust the intention. Begin to believe that if he took it, it wasn't meant to stay. And if he allowed it to walk away, it was never meant to carry your future. Because when God takes, he always has something better in mind, always. I know it hurt, not just the kind of hurt that brings tears, but the kind that echoes in your bones. The kind that steals your sleep and silences your laughter. The kind of pain that makes you question your discernment, your worth, even your faith. Because you didn't just lose a person, you lost the version of yourself that believed they were meant to stay. You gave sacred, tender, unguarded pieces of your soul to someone who was never meant to carry that kind of weight. And when they dropped it, when they walked away, it felt like they took part of you with them. I know what that kind of ache feels like, the sting of unexpected endings. The hollow space where dreams once lived. The nights that feel colder, not just because they're lonely, but because your heart can't find the warmth it used to know. And in the quiet of those moments, you may wonder, was it me? Did I love too much? Did I trust too deeply? But listen closely now. Beloved, divine love will never allow you to stay tied to something that is slowly destroying you. God, in his infinite mercy, will not let you remain connected to what cannot carry your calling. He will not allow you to keep drinking poison, no matter how beautiful the glass it's served in. Even if it came wrapped in charm. Even if it once felt like home. The removal wasn't rejection, it was redirection. That aching absence you feel, it's not abandonment, it's alignment. God is not punishing you, he's positioning you. He's shifting you away from what your flesh wanted toward what your spirit needs. He saw what you couldn't. He heard the conversations behind your back. He discerned the jealousy behind their compliments. He recognized the betrayal tucked behind the smile. And when your heart was too invested to see clearly, his spirit stepped in. With the gentleness of a loving mother and the unshakable authority of a righteous king, he intervened. He didn't ask your permission. He acted out of love. He removed what you would have held onto until it destroyed you. Because he knew how deep your loyalty runs. He knew how long you would have tried to fix it, to force it, to fight for it. And in that knowing, he said, enough, because he loves you too much to let you stay in what would slowly break you down. Sometimes, God's love looks like subtraction. Sometimes his favor comes dressed as a closed door. Sometimes, his grace feels like grief, but only at first. So, let yourself mourn what's gone, but don't mistake the pain for punishment. Let yourself feel the ache, but don't forget the truth. This is not the end. This is the unraveling of what wasn't real to make space for what is. You're not being punished, you're being protected. And in time, you'll see letting go was not your loss, it was your rescue. Oh child, sit with me for a moment. Let the noise fall away. Let the distractions go quiet. There is something sacred I want you to hear, something whispered in the hush. Something holy that lives in the silence. There is power in absence. Not every departure is a tragedy. Not every empty space is a loss. Sometimes, absence is the very language of heaven, God's way of making room for your healing, your clarity, your rebirth. It's a clearing of the soul. A divine sweep of what no longer belongs. A holy hush that settles over your life like a warm, weighted blanket, bringing not answers, but peace. We often expect peace to come through joy, through fulfillment, through doors flying open and prayers answered with fireworks. We think peace means presence of people, of things, of results. But oh beloved, sometimes peace doesn't come wrapped in a celebration. Sometimes, it doesn't come with music and laughter. Sometimes, the peace you prayed for comes through subtraction. Through closed doors you thought would stay open forever. Through unanswered texts and silent phones. Through friendships that fade without warning and relationships that evaporate without explanation. Through sudden goodbyes that leave you stunned, wondering what you did wrong. But hear me, God's greatest answers are often clothed in stillness. He doesn't always speak through thunder. Sometimes, he speaks by removing what blocks your ears from hearing him. He doesn't always show up in burning bushes or parted seas. Sometimes, he simply removes the noise. And I know how tempting it is to call it abandonment. To say, God, Where are you? Why would you let this person walk away? Why the silence? But let me tell you something that might just change the way you see it. He didn't ghost you, he guarded you. That silence was protection. That ending was his hand pulling you back from something that looked like love but was laced with confusion. That withdrawal was heaven's way of preserving your peace. What looked like loss was actually your liberation. You don't always see it at first. At first, it just feels like loneliness. Like rejection. Like silence. But if you let the quiet settle, if you stop trying to fill the emptiness too quickly, you'll begin to hear him. Not just around you, but within you. You'll begin to feel the shift. The clarity, the breath of God moving through the open space, restoring what chaos once suffocated. You'll realize that unanswered prayer was the answer. That absence wasn't punishment. It was the first step toward freedom, toward alignment, toward wholeness. So don't rush to replace what God removed. Don't rush to fill what he emptied. Sit in the stillness. Trust the silence. Let it teach you. Let it cleanse you. Let it make space for something truer, gentler, holier. Because when God allows absence, it's never to hurt you. It's to heal you. Ask ChatGPT. You prayed for protection. You whispered it in the quiet of night. You wept it through cracked voices and tired hope. God, please keep me safe. Guard my heart. Don't let me be deceived. And heaven heard you. But the answer didn't come with thunder. It didn't arrive wrapped in fire or grand revelation. It came in the form of release. You asked for protection, but you didn't expect it to feel like distance. You didn't expect God to answer your prayer by removing someone you loved. You thought maybe he'd change them, fix them, soften the edges. But instead, he parted the paths. He allowed the conversation to fade, the door to close, the silence to stretch longer than you anticipated. And you wondered, was that a rejection? Was it something I did? No, beloved, it was not rejection. It was redemption in motion. God didn't abandon you. He shielded you. He orchestrated their exit with the precision of a divine surgeon, not with cruelty but with care, not to hurt you, but to heal you, because he saw what you couldn't. He saw the future that soul would jeopardize. He saw how tightly you were holding on to something that could not carry your calling. And in his mercy, he cut it away, not out of spite, but out of love. So don't you dare try to resurrect what God buried. Don't go calling back what heaven silenced. Don't send messages to graves God closed for your protection. The release was holy. The silence was strategic. The ending was the answer. We often romanticize return. We want to redeem the past. We say, maybe if I had said this, or maybe they'll come back better. But some connections are not meant to be revived. Some things are not broken, they are finished. And when God says it's done, beloved, let it be done. Let the empty space become sacred ground. Let it be a sanctuary for your healing, not a shrine to what used to be. Let it breathe with possibility, with something new, something true, something that lifts you, nourishes you, honors your spirit instead of draining it. You don't need constant explanations to heal. You don't need closure tied up in conversation. Peace is sometimes the only closure you'll ever get. And in truth, it's the only one you need. Because peace does what words cannot. It quiets the ache, it calms the storm. It settles your heart where answers never could. So trust this release. Trust that heaven doesn't make mistakes. Trust that what walked away was not your rejection, but your redirection. A shift, a protection, a sacred node to something you would have kept, even though it couldn't keep you whole. Because when God takes the wrong people away, he is making space for what is holy, what is healing, what is truly yours. Let me tell you something, sweet soul, something that will liberate your heart if you truly embrace it. Not everyone is meant to stay. Some people come into your life wrapped in charm, cloaked in what feels like purpose. They arrive with timing that seems divine, with energy that feels like destiny. They speak your language. They mirror your wounds. They bring light to your darkness for a moment. And in that moment, you begin to believe, surely this must be it. Surely this person is my answer? But not all who feel eternal are meant to be. Some people are not lifelong promises, they are divine appointments. Temporary guides, sacred teachers, vessels of transition. They were never meant to go the full distance with you, they were only sent to walk a stretch of the road, to get you from one place to another. And when their purpose in your story is fulfilled, their presence begins to fade. Sometimes gently, sometimes abruptly, but always on time. If you try to build your life on a bridge, it will collapse. If you try to make a temporary soul your permanent foundation, You will feel the weight of the misalignment. Some folks were only ever meant to be a crossing, not a destination, not your home, and so comes the holy art of release. Releasing not in bitterness, but in wisdom. Not with resentment, but with reverence. Releasing not because you stopped caring, but because you started seeing. You began to discern that what once seemed like destiny was simply a lesson, a moment of growth disguised as forever. And now it is time to let go. You cannot cling to what was and still receive what will be. God will not allow the weight of counterfeit love, even well-meaning but misaligned companionship, to follow you into your next season. That kind of weight is not welcome in a place of promise. You must travel light into your purpose. And let me say this gently, release is not failure. It is faith. Faith that what is real will remain. Faith that what is for you will not have to be forced. Faith that God knows how to finish what He starts, and He will never subtract unless He intends to add something better. So take a deep breath, beloved. Stop rehearsing the memory. Stop romanticizing what was only meant to be temporary. Thank God for what it taught you. Bless the path they walked beside you, and then release them. Lay it down. Let it go. There is holiness in the letting go. There is freedom in the surrender. And there is peace, deep, lasting, unshakable peace on the other side of release. Because God never takes without purpose. He never ends without preparing a new beginning. And when you trust Him enough to release what's no longer yours, He will fill your hands with what was always meant to stay. There is a sacred difference between attachment and alignment. And understanding that difference will change your life. Attachment is emotional. It clings, it holds on tightly, not always because of love, but because of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of change, fear of letting go of what once felt safe. Attachment is rooted in memory, what was, what used to be, what almost happened. It says, but they were there when I needed someone. They meant something to me. And yes, maybe they did, but meaning is not the same as mission. Emotion is not the same as purpose. Alignment is spiritual. Alignment flows. It doesn't force. It doesn't drain. It strengthens. It brings clarity, not confusion. It waters your soul instead of poisoning your spirit. When someone exits your life and you feel peace in their absence, that's not loss. That's alignment at work. That's God shifting you away from what no longer matches your purpose. And yes, I know, when we look back, we tend to romanticize the good. We replay the highlights. We remember the laughs and the loyalty. We say, but they stood by me when things were hard, and that may be true. But even someone who stood beside you in the fire might not be the one called to walk with you into the promise. You see, while you're holding on to history, God is trying to release your destiny. While you're trying to preserve comfort, God is preparing your calling. And your calling will cost you. It will cost you comfort, familiarity, and yes, sometimes even people you once thought were permanent. Because not everyone can carry the oil on your life. Your anointing requires discernment. Your purpose demands alignment. And that means being willing to let go of what no longer fits, not with bitterness, but with trust. So release what's misaligned. Don't cling to what God is trying to shift. Don't mistake loyalty for destiny, or longevity for alignment. Let go not because you stopped caring, but because you started seeing. Let go, so God can align you. Align you with peace. With clarity. With people who don't just show up but who lift you, honor you, and align with the oil and purpose on your life. Alignment is where destiny unfolds. And it's always worth the release. Beloved, hear this with your whole heart. Not everything that leaves your life is a loss. Every ending is not abandonment. Every closed door is not rejection. Sometimes, what feels like breaking is really building. What looks like separation is actually salvation. What you called betrayal, heaven called rescue. God hears the conversations behind your back. He sees the motives behind the masks. He discerns the intentions hidden beneath the surface, those things your heart wasn't ready to face. And in His mercy, He moves, quietly, swiftly, sometimes without warning. He removes what you would have kept, because He knows what it would have cost you. Yes, it felt like heartbreak. Yes, you wept. Yes, it shook the ground beneath you. But what if that heartbreak was the holy release your soul desperately needed? What if the no you received was the exact protection you prayed for, not in the form you expected? You thought you needed them. You built dreams around them. You gave your heart, your time, your trust. But God knew who you were becoming. He knew you were stepping into a version of yourself that could no longer carry dead weight. He saw your strength rising. He saw your wisdom deepening. And He cleared the path so you could move forward lighter, freer, more aligned. And look at you now. You're still standing, still breathing. Maybe a little bruised, but no longer bound. You are more awake, more whole, more at peace than you've been in a long time. That's not just survival. That's restoration. So bless what left. Release it without resentment. Thank God for what didn't last because it made space for what will. Trust the pruning. Trust the silence. Trust the sacred interruptions. That didn't make sense at the time. Because when peace comes quiet and steady, when love shows up without pressure, without confusion, without performance, you'll know. God didn't just remove something from your life. He made room to restore you. And in that restoration, you'll find not just healing but holiness. Not just recovery but rebirth. Not just peace but purpose. And that, beloved, is the blessing of what left.